presentation.
I just didn't want to be rude or anything. Not calling for
Good? All right, here we go.
You're done for the night.
Thanks for joining me. Join me for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Give us a roll call, please.
Absolutely. Tom Roche.
Here.
Ella Collins.
Here.
James Donahue.
Here.
Amanda Durkee. Here. Christina Durkee was not going to be here. John Guglielmo.
I'm here.
Tim Clark.
Here.
Taylor Boucher. Here. And as our student member, Ella. Here.
Where are you, Ella?
I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Denali for recognition of successes.
Thank you, President Roche, I appreciate that. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. The following individuals will receive special recognition from our Board of Education for their participation. We'll first start off with our first Unified Bowling team. Unified Sports is recognized by Section 2 and the Special Olympics. Unified Sports provides the opportunity for athletes and partners to work together towards a common goal through athletics. We also thank the Youth Activation Committee for their efforts to bring awareness of students with disability and their accomplishments to our school community. First, we want to recognize the Unified Bowling coach, Coach Nelson Chase. We also want to recognize the YAC advisor, Mrs. Kylie Weston. And now to our athletes and partners. Leah Coss Bryant. Riley Howard. Nicholas Robinette Dixon. Let me know if anybody's making their way through. Okay? Bobby Landon. Oh, we have one.
Here.
All right.
Nick? All right, Nick, come on through.
Congratulations.
Good job, buddy. Thanks for your
There
participation.
you go.
Good job,
Good
Bud.
job. Bobby Bain.
Hey, there's Bobby.
Good job.
Good work, Bobby. Thank you. You're welcome, Bud.
Good job.
Good job, buddy.
All right.
Dominic Klein. Michael Glass. Zach Bartholomew. I saw this individual. Daniel Boucher. Nice job. Thanks a lot. Congratulations. Spencer Smith. Sophia White. And Rihanna Plough. All right. The Washington County Area Music Teachers Association, WCAMTA, All County Music Festival participants. These students were selected for their talents in the performing arts. They performed in an outstanding concert held in Granville on April 1st. They were conducted by Castleton College professor Joshua Thompson, who also conducts the Saratoga Youth Orchestra. We thank Mr. Smith and Ms. Taylor for providing them with this opportunity, and congratulate all of the students on their outstanding performance on that day. I was able to go up there. It was a fantastic concert. It was really well done. So first, Hillary Boucher. Noel Dickinson. Yeah. Good job. Congratulations. Nice job. Abigail Foster. Good job. Congratulations. Kayleen Nichols. Congratulations. Nice job.
Good job.
Okay, Trey, I'm gonna apologize in advance, but I'm gonna try it. Trey to Dorencel. Addison Perkins. Gabrielle Durkee. Ollie Cutler.
Get closer, Trace.
Your book.
There you go. How's that one? Good job. Natalie Durkee. Ashton, I will also apologize in advance, but
Like a day.
leg a day.
Got it.
I had help. I got some whispers. And Linnell Colvin. Congratulations, good job. Okay. Thank you, sir. We'd now like to recognize one of our students who was published in last week's Chronicle for their ice cream invention, Worms in a Bowl. And that is Jalen Taylor. Specifically, Jalen wrote, if I invented a new ice cream flavor, Jalen, come on up here. Stand right there and face me. There you go. There you go. If I invented a new ice cream, it would be so heavenly good. I would call it Worms in a Bowl. The base flavor would be chocolatey chocolate. Stuffed inside would be gummy worms and chocolate chips. Now, if you like gummy worms and chocolate, you will love my new ice cream. Good job. I'm hungry for ice cream. We will now recognize a community business, a community car club, and a community member. But first, we'll start with Irving Tissue. We thank Irving Tissue for sending representatives here today. We thank them for their generous donation of $13,000 to help fund our homework club and enrichment programs. We also thank them for their donation of 6 cases of facial tissue and paper towels. Come on, thank you. Thank you very much. Let's have a good stand right. There you go. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Here, why don't we'll come around the table. We'll get a good
No, I'll take it.
You stand on one end.
It's like if I can't take a picture of it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We would like to show appreciation to the Adirondack Car Enthusiasts Car Club for their generous donation of $500 to the Fort Edward School. This is a local group of car enthusiasts that hosts 2 car shows a year, and with the money they raise through raffles and registrations, they decided to donate to local schools this year, and we were one of them. They have an event on June 11th at Crandall Park, another in late July and August at the U-Haul parking lot on Dix Ave. I was contacted by Mr. Jason Spector, a member of the club and a PE teacher in our neighboring South Glens Falls School District, about the donation and the events. Mr. Spector did inform me of the 3rd event that will take place next Saturday at Smead Park in Hadley. That event runs from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Hope you'll go out and support the Ace Car Club as they generously donated $500, and we thank them for it. And last, we want to thank Mr. Patrick Colombetti for his donation of softball catcher's gear to be used this year in our softball program. Thank you, Mr. You guys can, there you go, thank you very much.
I'll just wait. Sure, come on.
All right, well, we got like any comments?
I do not have
You didn't ask me, so I won't leave that lengthy little thing there. Next up is our much anticipated update on our 5-year long-range plan with Sarah Bradshaw. How are you? Welcome.
Good, thank you, thanks for having me, it's nice to actually see you guys and hear you
Yeah.
and all the good stuff that makes this worthwhile.
Sarah, before you start, I think there's one more that I think we have to mention, right at the bottom there.
That was from last.
Oh, is that,
Yes,
oh,
yeah,
okay,
that's in the
all
next
right, my bad, looked at the wrong document.
This is just the update that we've been trying to kind of get out in front of everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, all right.
You got it. Thank you. Okay, so do I have? Wonderful. Okay, again, Sarah Bradshaw from Bernie Donigan's office, your municipal financial advisors. And this is an update to the long-range plan. We were here prior to take a look at your position, your current position. This has your proposed project built in it as well. We're gonna start with the capital section, which is your buildings. We do have a lot to do with that piece of it, so we'll go through where we're at here. Again, what makes sense for a future project look as far as timing, dollar size, and then again, those numbers are already built in this long-range plan. Okay. Thanks, guys, have a good night. Okay, so we're gonna just start, oh, you're okay. It's
Business, Chris.
really just a refresher what the long-range plan is the first slide there you go. So it does help project the general fund revenues, expenses, and the fund balance and the use of such. Helps assess the expenditure commitments, so before you enter into any long-term commitments, good to take a look at the effect and the rolling impact of taking those on. Any revenue trends, financial risk and affordability of new services and capital improvements, and again, we have built that in here this time. Long-range plans are not static documents, as you know, this is why we're back here, again, presenting the update. Once you present it, again, you always have your new budget coming on, you have new actuals coming on, and your expectations, and really year end is kind of always constantly changing. So anything like that you wanna layer in, make the update, and then see where you're at. That's pretty much the last one there too. They're really not a budget document, you don't wanna use it for a budget document. It will maybe spell things out, make you take a look and pull back and look at things, but again, your budget kind of runs separately than this. This is a year-end projection document.
Apologize. This isn't gonna work. I have to go paper.
Maybe it's me. You guys, it's
Yeah.
We
technical.
have remote problems and now we have local problems.
Okay. So if we flip over here, if we wanna just kind of keep going with the paper version, and we'll catch up here if we need to. So again, we're gonna start with the capital section. This is pulling all your past, project debt service, as well as your building aid coming back in. And just to take a look at, you do this to take a look at your local share, to see where your current position is. You wanna make sure if there's any walls coming up, as in a spike in local share, why is that like that, and how you're gonna handle it. If there's a drop, that's also something you wanna pay attention to. If you're dropping in local share, that may be good the year you drop, but not sustainable to bring a project back on, and then it kind of spikes things the year you have to bring something on. So stability is something you wanna take a look at when we're looking through this local share. And you can see in column F here, this is your, existing, so your building aid and debt service, so your local share here, which again, you have a positive local share. Your actual building projects are bringing in more building aid than you have outstanding debt service. We do have this area which is different and new from the first time we presented. I'm not sure if anybody got that the last time I tried to present or not, but this is capital outlay projects. A lot of districts do them. The state allows 100,000 project each year. The next year you get all the building aid back on that project. So again, it's a really good way to stay on top of just the little items. It's not a huge building project, but just the little stuff that kind of can keep going instead of putting it into maintenance and not getting any building aid back on it. This is something you can make a project out of each year, get the building aid back the next year instead of over 15 years, which is typical projects. So what we have here is a 4-year plan. So you build in the expense, you plan it with the architect, the next year get SED approval, you spend it the following year, and then you get the aid back. So we have it built in the first 2 years, and then you start getting your aid back. So your local share on capital outlay projects is just a reciprocal of your building aid. So we're $3,000, $4,000, and you get to do the 100,000 of project each year. So building that in with your existing debt, our new really local share for the 2024 and 2025 fiscal year is around 46 to 50,000 local share. The drop comes after that dotted line in the year 2026. Again, same as we've presented before, that really spells out an opportunity to be able to bring a project on board, a capital project, with no additional impact. So if we stay at this 50,000 local share, there would be no additional being built back into the tax levy. So again, that's our goal for looking at a future project. And the timing of that really would be to make sure debt service hits in the 2026 year. You don't want it sooner, you'll have an overlap and you'll see a spike in your local share. You don't want it later than that, because then you'll have that 1-year drop and then have to bring that local share back on. So again, the goal for a project coming on board, so again, timing and dollar amount would be to stay below that black line, your current level of 50,000. So all this white space underneath the black line would be room for a project to come on board. This is just a visual of how the capital outlays work. So again, you have your vote in May of 2023. 23-24 is where you would design and submit your project, receive SED approval. You spend it in this year here, and then your full building aid comes back the following year. And this is the ideal of to try to fit in a project to hit that drop off. Again, the drop off was in the 25-26 fiscal year. So this is our first financing. That's where our debt service is going to hit. So we fill in that drop off. So we don't see any drops or spikes in local share. What that does, if we back it up from here, this is our target. We're looking for SED approval the beginning of 2025, which really would put us back to a vote for a project around February of 2024. And then the blue longer box is just permanent financing of a project.
Can I jump in with a
Sure,
question?
absolutely.
It goes back just a little bit to the capital outlay
Yep.
project. Does that fall into, Chris, this kind of question for you as well, when we did the proposal for establishing a capital reserve fund to be designated 2023 capital reserve fund, does that capital outlay project fall into that?
That's different, that's what we're building in the budget for that $100,000 item that I highlighted in our proposal today. That's what we call the capital outlay. So
Which does not require a voter approval.
A proposition.
For that, a proposition,
correct.
got it, okay.
Yeah, there's two ways you can do a project. You can do the proposition, which are typical larger projects. You do a separate proposition. You can also build it into a budget line item. The capital outlays are just built into a line item.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Any other questions before we move on? Going good so far. We went through a couple slides. Okay, so this is again just a look at the next step is building in what size project would fit to fill that drop off as well as that timing. So we had the same, the blue is the same, your tan is the same, the existing and capital outlays. This purple area is a proposed project. Again, I believe you guys have been in discussions of a capital reserve use and build up there. This is a project size based on 800,000 capital reserve contribution, which is fantastic. And you can really see what it does to be able to have the capital reserve to put towards a project for the dollar size. So we have 800,000 capital reserve. The proposed project dollar amount is now at $12,345,000. Again, no additional tax impact. So again, you're at the 50,000. Once we build this purple area in, which is the $12 million project, this is the local share of the project. Once we build it in with your existing, you're at the $50,000 mark. So there, again, there's no additional impact there. Just some assumptions for this project. Again, the vote would be 2024, followed by SED approval, January 25 timeframe. You have your borrowings that fall after that. We did use your 23-24 estimated billing aid ratio of 96.1, which is very helpful. And we did run this at a 95% bond percentage. That's the aidability of the project. So that does kind of assume all items of the project would be aidable. You can do non-aidable items. You can go over your maximum cost allowance, so it's not fully aided, just the dollar amount would come down. So again, if one assumption changes, one other one has to as well. Any questions on that? The breakdown of the budget of that 12 million is really, you're looking at construction and incidentals of 11,470,000. Any questions before we move on from this area? Again, this is just a visual. You can see we stayed below that black line. There's the target for the no additional impact. Okay. So this part really starts the long-range plan portion of the presentation. And again, those numbers are built in here and ready to go. We always start with the analysis of the fund balances in the past 3 years, looking at your reserves. This is a great picture. You can go back to 2020. If you want to look at your restricted, you've been able to really build up and fund some of your reserves in a much better position there. As well as here, your overall fund balance has been growing over the past 3 years. So overall, this is a perfect picture. Well done. Next here is, or next two is really building up into the revenues of your district here. This is a state aid. We have two main revenue sources, state aid and then taxes. So we just break down both of those and then put those in the picture. What we've done here is really just the numbers through 23-24 is coming from the executive budget proposals, most recent numbers. If you look at your top line here, foundation aid, one of your largest, it is your largest piece of your state aid, that we have projected as flat. There could be an increase there, but again, with the conversations of re-looking at the formula and the overall foundation aid, yeah, safest, your face explains the rest. Safe really just to kind of keep it flat and assume no increase. If you do, that's great, better is the picture, but for now we do have that flat going across. A couple things.
Can you just pause and say how does foundation aid relate to enrollment? like it hasn't factored in enrollment in the last few years, is that correct? But to May,
Yeah, there's a lot of, the formula for foundation aid is,
I know it takes a whole page.
day long, yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of factors, and I'm not actually quite sure if they really talked about the pieces that they want to adjust specifically. There's a lot of it, and it's been in talks for a while, actually,
Okay.
of re-looking at it. It's very scary for a lot of people because it could be helpful, it could be hurt, damaging, so hopefully it doesn't, everybody should be fully funded and then kind of stabilize from here. Hopefully it doesn't have any impact on where you guys are as far as you shouldn't be reducing any, but the increases, the 3% would be nice. And I think the last time we saw the 3%, you have been getting this 3%, so hopefully it stays there.
Okay.
So just the tan section here, that's kind of where we come in and use our projected for building aid. Yours is all kind of, all your projects are closed out, so it matches the state runs anyways, but just a couple things being pointed out here. This is this 480,000 difference here, and that's coming in the 23-24 year, that's for the emergency project. So the aid coming back, it was a well-told story. And really the SED, the state really did work well with the district in granting that aid coming back for that emergency project the following year. If that didn't happen, the expense is gone in one shot and you get your aid sprinkled back over 15 years. So well done by the team here, the architect, everybody kind of came together and the state listened, which was not always the case, but it was very good. So again, this is the aid coming back for the emergency project. You can see your building aid is pretty stable, and then you see that deduct hitting in the 25-26 year, so now you're at 330. That's that drop that we're trying to build in the project. The debt service does go down as well, and then stabilizes from there. You can see the proposed building aid we have stripped out separate, so in the 26-27 year, you can see the increase there, and again, that's the new project coming on board. Any questions here? Capital outlay aid is there as well. Okay, so the second largest piece of the revenue that's factored in is your tax levy. This is a tax cap analysis. There's a lot of numbers on this page. Really just pointing out what we're using for this report. If you want to focus on the center there, supermajority vote needed. In this scenario, we are showing no supermajority needed, and that's not built into this. If you go down this tan line, that's really the revenues, the tax levy that is built into this project or into this report, and it is actually matching your maximum levy increase allowed within the tax cap. That's in the green, and again, the blue is what we are going out at. So we are showing max levy throughout this report built in already. Which again, you can see on top of here, those are the increases. You'll see a couple different things going on here, and I'll explain to those what that, really the mechanisms of what's driving those in a little bit. These tan sections here, you can see the footnote there. It's the Champlain Hudson Power Express pilot coming on board. We have that showing starting in 2027. Portion of it is a pilot, portion of it is a miscellaneous revenue that's supposed to be feeding the capital reserve. So we have those both coming in to this. This 505 in the interfund transfer capital line is a capitalized interest, which is associated with the proposed project as well. It's just offsetting the interest until building aid comes on. But again, it is shown as a revenue to the to your general fund. So you do have a couple different areas going on there. And then that's pretty much it. Your revenues are, again, most of your revenue is derived from your tax levy. And we're going out to showing a max increase there. Your average increase for your revenues is 2.23 over the 5 years. Moving on to expenses, and we worked with the district for a while now to project some expectations for year end, as well as future projections for your expenses. This picture does show salaries being built back in that were being paid from the federal fund. So that fiscal cliff that everybody was talking about, this is already accounted for, it's already included in here. And that you can kind of see the jump up in the expenditure line for a couple different reasons. One of them is the building back into the salaries. This area down here, your interfund transfer to capital area, the footnote down there, that's where all the capital has to be shown that runs through to get it out of the general fund, to get it over to the capital fund, and get it out of your fund balance, really. So we have the $100,000 capital outlay being expensed from your general fund, your $800,000 transfer to the proposed capital project, and then we do have the expense of the 500 emergency project. So this 1.4 does include a lot of that. So a lot of that big jump there is really planned use of your monies for reserves. Okay, and then again, this is really just pulling all your full picture together, the revenues and expenses. You can see here the 1.4 really is just this we start here. The 800, and we have some additional fundings. There's 125 being funded to transportation. So the expectation in 2023, we've already done some of that movement. So you can, if not, it would have been still sitting there in that unassigned. Not quite sure how you presented that, if it was in the unassigned already, but so before any movements happened at the end of 2023, all of your excess fund balance would be sitting in this unassigned. This is already pulling out the 800 to fund the capital, 125 to fund the transportation, and a couple other littler items there as well.
Just a question, it's probably the slide prior, I was trying to do some math here. So, as far as revenues, the one slide for revenues and then the next one expenses, everything seems in line for 22 and 23 for the most part. And then in 24, it looks like our expenses outpace our revenues by almost $1.5 million, is that correct?
Correct, yep. Yep, again, a lot of that is the use, you're pulling your $800,000 expenses in there. That's the 800, you're taking it from unappropriated and you're putting it into the capital, so it has to be expensed, it has to show up as an expense. So it's not, you already have it there.
And basically down the line though, up until the end of the graph, our expenses are outpacing revenues on average $1.2 million a year.
Correct, yep. Yep, so you're burning through fund balance. This is a picture that's always there.
I get it,
Yeah,
I'm just saying, is looking at this piece of paper right now, that's the story it's telling me.
Correct, yep. You want to, that's why you want to hold, sorry, I'm trying to get to the page. And again, if you're, just by looking at your revenues, that was going up 2.23, your expenses are going up 6.17%. So yeah, and the spread just kind of grows and increases from there. So when that happens, you're gonna really pull from different reserves, and you can see that's why your fund balance is really being reduced. You're gonna fix any issues with that. You can't go out with a budget like that, right? So you fix the issue, but this does want you to pause and kind of take a look before you take any expenses on, before you enter into any agreements, things like that, to pull back and take a look at the ripple effect of doing so.
Because it's sustainable, I think that needs to be our question with every financial decision as we're moving forward. It always has been, but I think that still needs to remain at the forefront of our conversations. Is it sustainable for us to stay fiscally healthy?
Right. We're back up. Yeah, so again, you can see we're reallocating here. These negatives in your unassigned, it's really, you would just be kind of pulling from your other sources, but you do start to go into the negative overall fund balance towards the end. That's good to look at. Again, good to see that it's out there. What you want to do is when we come back and do this again, that red's not here now. So this is okay. We'll always make those adjustments, make sure they're not growing. that would be alarming. If they're moving up closer, if we're not making the adjustments, that's something to take a look at and to really pull back and take a look at, but it is not surprising. This is kind of a picture just on the mechanism of how projections are with expenses and revenues. But again, things would be adjusted and fixed along the way before this gets to that. You will see, you do have, this looks like a huge decrease. You do have, that's what you've been building that for, right, is to spend it. So it does show a drop there quite a bit, but it's a responsible drop. That's what you were doing, that's what your plan was, and that's what you're building for. If you didn't have it and you needed that size of project or anywhere close to that size project, your revenues would go up, but that would mean your taxes are going up. So you have to get that from somewhere else, so.
I do have a question about that. If we are, like we just talked about, pulling from the fund balance and pulling, and then eventually, I mean, even the 2028 there, this is in the fund balance, it's in the red to
2.1.
And I know on here you said that the project every year we would not have to put it to a vote for a supermajority, but we're gonna have to get the money from somewhere. Right?
Correct, adjustments
Yeah.
would have to be made, yep. If your expenses and revenues, if your expenses remain the same right here and you've got no other revenue sources, so foundation aid didn't increase, nothing else increased, you'd have to look at, if you made no other adjustments, as far as your expenses, reducing them, taking shared services, things like that, then yes, you'd have to do something. So those are the adjustments that is looked at every year to make sure, again, that you're meeting your goals and what you need to do. But yeah, this picture would not play out like this. So I do want to, let's see. The spread here hasn't really changed, the increases. This bump up, you can see kind of two different bumps up. That is a result of the project. So the local share, because we had the revenues coming in the same, it offsets each other, but you do see an increase in your expenses because of the project. So, but again, your bottom line, it doesn't make you negative quicker or any more. That's where the no additional impact comes in. But you do see the increase in expenses, but as well as the revenue. So this is your tax cap page, and I just want to speak to a couple different points on here. You have some things happening. Your max increase this year is at 3.66. If you look at this line here, a lot of that reason's a little bit larger than what you're used to seeing is that capital outlay being built in. So when you start building those in, that does go, you have no building aid going against it right now. So that does bump that up a little bit. So it gives you the ability to be able to add that addition, what you're needed to the tax levy. You stabilize out from there, then you have a negative here, which is really a negative tax cap, as in to not need the supermajority, you would actually need to decrease your budget. That's how the formula is.
Yeah, we crossed that bridge before.
Yeah.
Well, we need to decrease the budget? I thought that was to counteract the pilot moving on.
Correct, right. That's what's causing this. So this is the year that the pilot comes on, you see a decrease in, again, you're getting the revenue from a different source, so they want it to be removed from your levy.
Yeah.
So that's why it's decreased. So you actually wouldn't even be able to stay at your budget because it's being pulled from your exclusion piece. It's in the formula, so it backs that out.
So we would have to decrease the budget even though we're getting the money from somewhere else
Or
that gives
we have to
it
get some more money from the taxpayers. I mean, that's the balance. That supplement basically takes the burden off the taxpayer that year, but it affects our budget. So we would have to consider.
It affects the levy,
Need to
not
do
the
something.
budget. Is that-
Right, it's in a different part of the
Would it affect
budget. So if we sit here for the revenues, it's coming in as a pilot, so you don't need it in your levy. It's not being billed out
Yeah.
as a tax item.
Right.
So it's still there. So you're still getting the revenue, it's just not in the tax, it doesn't play a part in the tax levy. It gets pulled out
Right.
from there, yeah.
Right, okay. But our overall budget, the amount of money that we spend in a year, we wouldn't have to reduce that.
Right, it's your levy, yes,
Okay,
sorry, yep. Yeah, so your levy would have to go down, by the 0.02 to again, stay within, to not need the supermajority.
Yeah, and that'll be a decision. We crossed that bridge before where we said, well, we can save some money from the taxpayers and have that, you know, but it kind of hurt us in the long run because you can only increase so much over time. So it might not have been the best decision back then not to go out for a supermajority because we paid the price going down the years.
But we knew
So it's, we don't need, according to that, yeah, we get the same revenue because it's being supplanted by a pilot, but you're missing out on revenue that
Oh, yeah,
you could
yeah.
get and you probably need, so it's a decision for the board to say, well, we probably gotta go out and do something. But I won't be here, so no.
But it is a good timing to take a look at, especially if it is needed, if it does look like it fits in there.
The time that we did that, remember, it was, we knew we were putting a Band-Aid on, but we both had, because that 60 would not have gone the
You
year.
were talking double digits and that was really scary.
It wasn't going, so it wasn't, I mean, we knew what was gonna happen. We just didn't
Right,
have a
on
choice.
normal circumstances, to get a supermajority, your percentage shows up fairly large. In this case, because you're already so low,
Yeah,
that it's
Yeah.
not gonna change the numbers all that much, but you're going to need the supermajority. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit softer and more comfortable of a story if you're looking at and need that to possibly do it that year.
And we
You know,
have,
Yeah, it's always a number.
we have historically passed a supermajority.
It's gonna be.
There was, it's one of the charts that was done for the feasibility study, and it laid it out very nicely for.
That you typically get over the 60.
But that
Well,
we,
that's
no,
not
that we had a budget that had gone out that was over the cap and needed the 60% majority, and it did get it. I don't remember which year it was, but we have that chart.
So the
All about
opposite,
educating the taxpayers and so they understand where those monies are and how that affects that percentage, so.
And who knows what'll happen with foundation aid.
Well, we're working.
that won't
Yeah,
change
no,
this
it
picture
won't.
though. It will give you more revenue. It won't change this picture though.
You know, I think
It's
if
very
the
hard to
people
handle
know-
those pilots
people
coming on and
know
off.
what's going on, they're more apt to be in favor of the whole.
Yep.
So.
The same will happen, but in opposite effect, the year a pilot rolls off. Is instead of the negative, you now don't have it anymore, so you need to build it back into your levy. That's where a lot of people say, that's a huge increase, we can't go out with that. That's where you really do lose revenue. So when that falls off, and it shows, this may now be a 5 or 6%, uncomfortable to go out like that, but we have an analysis to show you really what it does, and you're losing revenue, that is not coming in anywhere else.
Well, we'll see what, Urban Fisheries gonna do in the near future.
No, there's a big plan there, so.
There is a huge plan there,
So
so.
that could
any other questions? for
alleviate
Seth?
some of the problems.
Good.
So again, considerations to improve fund balance, we just kind of discussed a lot of those, just looking at that picture. But increases in your revenues, that is your taxes, that's really the only control of revenues that you have at this point. Decreases in your expenditures is just reviewing your contracts before you put in, commit to any long-term contracts. Shared services you can look at and review your program needs. Plan use of reserves, we do have that built in for that 1 year as well, but that's another option, an idea. And again, moving forward, that's why this is an ongoing document. You wanna make sure you do those updates after June 30th. We now have actuals. Now we're gonna change the projections going forward, so it puts you in an accurate position and kind of refreshes from there. Any other contract negotiations, things like that, take a new look at it, and then to see, again, where that red is it staying there? Is it increasing? Is it getting better? So those are the pictures that you wanna kind of just take a peek at. Okay, any questions overall on this project in general?
That's great information, and we appreciate you presenting it to us, because it's information we need, as we go along. So I like the format too.
Very easy to follow and understand.
It's a little easier than that, the more and more you actually get to see it too, then when you end up coming back, you guys can read the document yourself. But it is good information. You guys are doing a great job. Very exciting to look at a project for the district.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, we appreciate it.
You're a hard act to follow, Sarah, but we're gonna keep going. Budget Finance and Audit Committee met this evening. Chris presented a fantastic budget workshop for us. Lots of good news for the next couple of years. Look really good. Doing a great job, Chris and your team. Appreciate it. So you got some good information on that. Are you gonna do that? Are you gonna present that
Yes.
to the board?
Yep, I'm gonna actually give more of a synopsis, since most of you guys were here for
Don't
that.
build it up too much, because I don't want you to get too much criticism. Yeah, you have the floor, go ahead.
Welcome, everybody, again, I appreciate this. This is Budget Workshop 5. And as Tom said, I previously presented today, but we're gonna just run through a little bit of the information. Of course, we're gonna have our same goal. We're gonna provide business direction through transparency and detail. Again, most of our numbers are still fluid, we're projecting, but a lot of the budgeted numbers will be actually what you need to vote for this evening. So tonight's topics were School Resource Officer, SRO, extra classroom activity funds. We're gonna do kind of an educational piece, final review of our 23-24 budget. We will update you on the administrative program and capital sections, the 3-part budget, updated expenditures, revenue estimates, and also the property tax report card. So the SRO, again, this is something that just came to mind about 3 weeks ago. I did a lot of research. It was because again, we're living in a culture where it's a little bit of an anxious moment. Schools that seem to be more vulnerable, or again, there's a swatting that's going around. People are again a little bit anxious, but an SRO role would be assisting the school administration in maintaining a safe and secure environment, providing visible, highly visible presence to deter or identify trespassers, responsible for investigating violations of criminal law. This person is also a positive role model, endorsing high moral standards, law-related counselor, assisting in conflict mediation efforts, providing crisis and emergency training to faculty and staff. These are just a little bit snippets of what that role is, and they are not a school disciplinarian. Fort Edward is currently one of the last school districts in our Washington-Warren County area that does not have an SRO. And we would be contracting with Washington County Sheriff's Office, and the budgeted line, which we do have the money for, is $52,000.
So who does not have one at this point?
Currently Putnam, because they have hardly any students, and Cambridge in Washington County uses their village police, and they actually are contracting them to stop by about 4 times a day. Granville did not until this year. They actually are moving with also Washington County, and they're adding an SRO to their program. Saratoga County's number is about $75,000, and Warren County runs into the mid-60,000s. So we are kind of getting a deal with Washington County. They are not making a profit off this program. They're offering it to our school districts, really almost at a loss. But I did look at grants, and as I said to the group tonight, it was a federal grant that kind of looked good. It was a mirage. It does not actually equal good funding, because what happens is it's a 75-25 grant. So the grant would cover the 75%, the 25% would actually be Washington County residents. And because this is a program that they already said when they started back in 2018, they were not going to fund this. This has to be something the school itself provides. And the way of the wording is the primary grant writer is the Washington County Sheriff's. And what happens then is the language of that contract of the grant is, as a primary grant writer, they're the ones that have to pay the 25%. So it can't be us, it can't be anything that we could do. I can't even give them the money. It has to be as primary grant writers. They're the ones that actually they have to put out the 25%.
So this would be an active deputy?
They are actually retired police.
Retired, but are they armed?
They will be armed, but they are highly trained as an SRO to provide those security details.
So are we gonna public notice this for a discussion at a future meeting, or are you saying we're like deciding on this tonight?
This would be something you would decide tonight.
It's a board decision, so we would have to decide we want to go forward with it. I don't see it on the agenda though as a discussion.
I don't think we should go forward without a public notice. It seems
Well,
like
I
an
mean-
important topic.
It's not anything for approval this evening, so I think we'd have to go to May anyway, I think, right?
We put it on an agenda. I think this is just saying that there is money in the budget for this position.
yeah, it would
And
have
then
to be,
in the
yeah.
future, we would have discussion about it and community input and things. And then if for some reason we decided to not move forward with a school resource officer, then that $52,000 gets back in general fund.
Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely something that would
Yeah, you
get
want a budget for it,
discussed.
so that's what we're approving tonight, is the
Yeah.
monies allocated for that position.
All right.
The other piece that we had talked about that to clarify was that it was one person that would be assigned to Fort Edward School 5 days a week. We're not shared with somebody else, and that the SRO training is a specific school-based training that the retired officers go through.
Did we used to have a school resource officer?
I heard it was more of a security person with a badge. This is a completely different program. They are truly trained not only for police, but as Amanda said, they are about a school resource officer. That's their training.
No, I thought that's what we had. Maybe I'm wrong.
And they were full uniform.
Yeah.
I don't know what was here previously.
And should we go forward, it would be effective September
Correct.
for the new school year.
Yep.
And that's the same person, and granted, always the same for the consistency and whatever.
That is what they were saying.
Yeah,
Yes.
you gotta be careful there.
Yeah. They did say this would be the person that's assigned to Fort Edward.
Right, no one will be sharing anybody, there'll be some, I don't want somebody here with the same person here.
My understanding is that was what they would be
Probably
offering.
like a regular job in the same.
Yeah, I would
field,
hope that's the case.
But
I
they'll
don't-
have sick time though still. I'm
Right,
sure,
because these
and
are very
things like
short
that.
buys or something.
Yeah,
They're
no,
juggling
very
and
nice.
stuff,
Retired
something like
deputy,
that.
Correct.
they work for Washington County Sheriff's Department,
Correct. They're contracted. Yes.
and we contract that through them, so we pay Washington County, obviously.
Correct.
Washington County provides and pays for their training.
All of that's inclusive in that 52,000. Yes. And it's also their benefits as well.
It's also,
Their benefits as well.
okay,
So all of their benefits comes from Washington County as a retiree. They get all
that's
that.
all in that
Correct.
package.
Correct.
Okay.
And because we needed a little extra, my own education as well, we had some issues with the extra classroom activity funds. And we presented tonight that under the law, we are not able to use taxpayer monies to fund any outside clubs, any of our extracurricular, co-curricular. What we only can fund are advisors for co-curricular, and the clubs must be self-sustaining. So either fundraising, dues, that's how that has worked. However, we also were able to present with questions tonight that this could also be other extra classroom, funding other extra classroom. So if the student council said we're going to give money to this club, they can do so. But this cannot be out of taxpayer budgeted money. And this is our first part of the administration budget. Also in my deep diving of what I inherited from previous budgets, we took out a lot of the .2 codes, which are actually equipment. So if we needed, say, furniture for the library, which we desperately need, we do not have any funding right now available. A budget is one of those things you have to approve, you can't add later. So by not having equipment or furniture opportunities, we were kind of stuck. So being able to take some monies and move things around, we were able to create some line items. Here we have $500 that again wasn't previously budgeted for. But under full transparency, I wanted you guys to know that right now in our budget, we have about $11,500 for furniture or equipment that we need to do upgrades that we're not able to in the past budgets because the .2 codes were not available. And this is our second part of the administration budget. This has not changed. These are the same numbers that were presented previously. This highlighted section down where it says non-instruction and salaries, also as we were doing our edits and listening to different meetings, I was also part of the FES negotiation, and since we have not yet settled their contract, some of those percentages that we were previously budgeting for were a little bit lower, so we increased those slightly so that we actually are projecting a little bit more accurate, so that's where. Another highlighted item here is the contract transportation. This is usually what we've been using with Durham, which is transportation aidable, but what happens is we previously last year had 95,000, we dipped it down to about 35. But now looking at more financials and certain contracts that we still have with Durham, I feel better with the 65 instead of the 35, so we're not getting a major hit. And right now we are running about 65,000, so we're hoping to be better. And also the highlighted item, this is what Sarah presented with the capital outlays. It is not the capital project per se, it's not that 800,000 we're investing out of reserves. This is truly budgeted money that can kind of do like side projects, little capital projects as we get monies from building aid. And another FES support staff increase was with the operation of plant non-instruction salaries. That also was a little bit of an uptick, just again to balance what our, hopefully we can settle these contracts. This was again this was where the $10,000 landed for plant equipment. So again, having these line items, you can always take the money out, they said, and put it into different areas, but you can't put it in going forward. So by having it built in as we have, we can actually again have equipment that we desperately need. The SRO, where we budgeted that, is on the operation of plant contractual, because it is a contractual staff member, and reaching out to other school business officials, that is where they have also budgeted that line. So the numbers here are landing almost what they were, it's just that how it was structured is slightly different. And this is our updated 3-part budget. So 12% is our administration costs, capital is 14%, and program is 74%. And this is our list of our estimated expenditures. This is again broken down as the 3-part budget. I highlighted this number here, so I want you to kind of put this one to memory in a second. 670,278,016. Because when we take a look at this slide here with our estimated revenues, what we are getting just for our state aid projection, we are almost $30,000 ahead of the game. So in my way of doing budgeting, I kind of like to balance what we got extra from the state versus what is extra from last year's budget comparative. So again, looking at what we have difference from last year's budget is significantly lower, about $30,000 lower than what our state is giving us extra this year. Also, I want to bring to your mind, we are under 6%, which now when we look at our property tax report card, consumer price index is 8%. So all the price of goods being under 6% is a pretty decent landing, knowing when everything is so expensive today. Gas, paper goods, food, and also during our tax report card, we also had to put out our enrollment, and current enrollment right now is 366, so it is 11% decrease. And these are our fund balance projections. Keep in mind they are estimated on this side here. All of these are the accurate, as Sarah was saying too. Once we close out the books and its actual projections, you will see better. But in discussions where we're trying to land, this actually could be a little higher than what we're projecting. So we're healthy, our fund balance is healthy. We took out the $800,000 for our capital project. So that's why some of that number is a little bit lower than what we started out for, because that was already now pushed into our revenues or reserves. So That's our picture. Any questions?
You do it again, it's a great job. Really appreciate the clarity and the transparency too. Right. The only other meeting that we had was policy review, met on 3/22/23.
Yes. We did. The
Yeah.
agenda and the
Those
minutes
came out.
are in your packets, and we can finally finish our policy audit review, and that is in your packets and in the minutes for our first reading of all of that. The actual policies themselves are listed in the shared drive. It's like a 175-page document, so I just had said to Casey there was no need to paper copy that for everybody. The chart here is what we went through, and in each change is described within that chart as to why policy services makes the suggested revisions. Most were updated terminology within policies, and we suggested to adopt most all of them as is. The one that was not adopted on page 23430, that is being just not adopted at this time, being put on hold until it'll be on our policy audit again for next year. That's what happens, and we wanted to revisit that one closer. And one clarifying piece on the last page, 8340, the box is checked revisions made by district. When we had our meeting, we had talked about adopt as is. In rereading the information from policy services, because its customization was required, we had to do that June 1st for when people needed to request the information. We then checked that box instead of adopt as is. So it's adopt as is, but because we had to customize with the date, that's why we do that box. So tonight is technically the first reading, and then there's a whole nother month where people can review things closer. If you have questions or concerns over the course of the next month with regards to any of it, please feel free to send in an email, and and then we can discuss next month if need be as well. But moving forward.
I want to thank Amanda and the committee. I'm a member of that committee, but it just seems every time the last couple of meetings took place, I had some urgent business, so I've not been able to make it. So thank you for picking up the slack and getting all this work done. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good team. It's been good. And I think each year now we'll have a good procedure in place, and it's going to roll smoothly.
Are there any committees that need to meet within the next month?
None that I can think of.
And so if something comes up, we'll take care of it. All right, superintendent report.
Okay, so the Future Kids program, I don't know if you recall, was an after-school program. They did a presentation, then we sent out a survey to see how many families would be interested in possibly utilizing that service, and there was a fee for that service. We did have 5 families return the survey interested in the service. So I would like to move forward with that program.
You kind of said if there was interest, right?
Oh, yeah. They'll be here Friday to kind of look at the physical plant, and I sent them some floor plans and our certificate of occupancy, because there's licensure, as you remember, that they're gonna have to acquire from the state. So I will let them know tomorrow that, full steam ahead. Okay, thank you. Casey and I were discussing this. Do we have a May board meeting? What is the May board meeting? When is the May board meeting?
What goes on, the budget hearing, isn't that?
Is it usually? I didn't know. It just.
No, I think that's always, isn't it, most years it's the budget hearing, then you'll have a meeting after, or?
You're right.
Yeah.
That's the way we do it.
So May 16th?
16th, or whatever it is, 17th.
Why do you?
Before that.
Budget. I think the
When's the
budget
budget
hearing is the 8th, the budget vote is the 16th.
Right, it's,
Yeah, that's why I had that look, because I'm like, I don't think
Yeah.
that's right.
yeah.
Are we doing another budget hearing? We've already had 5.
Well, we have to do the public.
No, those were working
Yeah.
out.
Ah,
Mhm.
thank you. All All right,
That's the big one. A budget hearing, usually it's done in the auditorium.
Gotcha.
Because there will, historically, there have been,
People.
Yeah.
some community members that come
Some years, yes.
to
some
it.
years, no.
Right, yeah.
okay.
So,
Yeah.
We'll know on the 8th.
Yeah, but we do have to have our meeting on the 8th as well.
So we will be seeing each other, do we have to have a meeting on the 8th too?
Well, it's the, what is it, the second Monday in May?
I'm just thinking, cause we're together today, next week we have to get together for the BOCES budget. And and then the 8th would be the next week, so we could possibly see each other 4 straight weeks. Just saying. Not that I'm okay with that, I'm just saying.
Rich, it's a valid point.
We're gonna see each other anyway, we'll just see them short.
Yeah, the budget
We
meeting will
have
be
not
part
met on
of
the night
the
of
board,
budget vote
the board meeting.
historically.
No, if you don't need a meeting, there's no, I mean, I don't know, if it's not mandatory.
No, the night of the budget vote, we've never,
No, not the
there's
budget.
never.
No, no,
The
the
hearing.
budget hearing is
The
The
typically.
budget hearing though, yes.
The budget.
Okay, so that will be the board meeting.
So May 8th will be
Yes.
the board meeting.
Right, you would do the
And
hearing.
the budget.
or the vote, yeah.
Now we got it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't totally off my rocker.
No.
Okay.
That was the one you thought it was, I think that's the one you had said you thought it was going to be, but with all of those and not one that was like very designated, I was very confused.
Gotcha. Alright, so we're set there. Alright, we should rifle through the rest of this, okay. So items since the last board meeting, our Adirondack League did meet, I wanna say 2 weeks ago, or 3. There was decisions made about basketball coming up that I just wanna make you aware of. We had 3 divisions, we're moving to 1. We'll play all league opponents 1 time. The bracketed tournament at the conclusion of the season will be based on the order of finish. So bracket A teams will be number 1 and number 4, bracket B teams be 5 through 8, and bracket C teams will be 9 through 12. Not sure what all of that requires, but the biggest thing that I wanted you to know was 1 division with 1 time playing each one leaves us with 7 non-league games to fill.
I was gonna ask some of the
Wait,
teams they
so
projected in that league.
No more east and west is what you're saying?
Correct.
basically?
But is it because of
Well, I
merger?
get,
How many teams do they have, how many teams they project?
I think they were nervous because people are having issues fielding varsity and JV
Yeah,
teams.
that's right.
So that's, because this isn't just boys, it's boys and girls.
Wow, that's crazy.
So,
It is.
So we play Argyle 1 time?
Yep.
Fordham 1 time?
it was decided to try this for next year and then see how it goes. So it could possibly be. They'll be developing the schedule in the next couple weeks and the guidelines for potential tiebreakers and scenarios. So there were a few other teams that were a little nervous about a non-league schedule, but it's what the league has decided and that's what they'll go forward.
Yeah, it doesn't preclude you from playing one of those, playing Argyle twice, and one's just a non-league. Designate one's a
Right,
league
yeah,
and one a non-league, you can play any one of those or
Right.
close, so you take advantage of that, that's there, that's true. Because they're looking for them as bad as we are, so.
Gotcha. We had another esports meeting since we last met. Now that we know the clubs cannot be funded, we will be working toward IT on a bring your own device, so we can still keep esports rolling, because we seem to have quite a bit of interest, so that's still on the radar. All 4 new boilers are in and they're being plumbed in. So believe it or not, you didn't feel the heat from the 4 boilers today. The issue that we're having is that since we've taken things offline, we are now manually controlling the actual 1 boiler that works and the pumps. So because the nights are still a little cold, we were kind of nervous to shut them all down. So Friday, Steve flipped a coin. The coin said leave them on. And we walked into like 90-degree classrooms this morning. So fortunately though, he was supposed to take a day off, but Steve is very dedicated. We have a great man at the helm there. Came in his shorts and a cup of coffee this morning, turned everything off, and then did a couple other things and left. So we were okay by 11, because obviously when you boil water in this big of a building up to 180 degrees, it takes a little time to cool down.
There were people coming back from beach vacation. Just making sure it wasn't too shocking.
Aaron and I and Mindy are in talks about our end of the year events. So we are heading towards graduation, if you can believe it or not. So we'll be meeting again this week or next week, I think it is. I did attend the county supervisors meeting with Mr. Besson and Mr. Ward in regards to the IDA, and things are just going to remain status quo. So, there were no major changes made at that meeting. Mrs. Russo and I met with all non-tenure staff since our last meeting. She will provide you that update later this evening. We want to publicly thank the Fort Edward Public Free Library for sponsoring Jeff Boyer's Big Bubble Show. We thank them for offering him to make a presentation to our kids. They loved it. It was fantastic.
It's so fun.
April 4th, we did have a 2-hour delay due to a swatting incident, which encompassed many New York State, upstate school districts. I met with the data privacy administrator of our BOCES, Ms. Gail Galusha. We will have to move to what's called two-step authentication next year. So basically, and we're gonna try to figure that out, but it's something that must be done. I know, I wanna say, was it South Glens Falls, they had, where the internet, they could not use their internet for 2 weeks. It was pretty difficult. So that has brought a heightened awareness to our districts about what we need to do. And we have taken steps already to better secure items on our website that deal with personal information. She was ecstatic about our website, felt like we were doing a great job with keeping that information. So extremely satisfied with the website. Thank everybody involved in that, especially Mr. Herman. April 5th, I attended the BOCES annual budget meeting, which we'll be voting on, and I think you have packets on that Casey already shared with you. Is that true? Maybe not. From the board, from the BOCES?
I did not, because I'm part of the next meeting.
Gotcha. Future items. I do have a bomb threat overview training for this Friday due to what's been going on. Healthy Kids will be visiting the site on Friday. New Meadows has approached me about renewing their contract. They are requesting a 1 or possibly 2-year deal. I'll be working with our lawyers to see what the best course of action is for us. They are also requesting 3 additional rooms for next year. So I would like to, and Aaron and I are in talks with that, and I did send a notification out to the staff. They're aware that we could be looking for 3 rooms. Well, we have 3 rooms available, but they're not in close proximity to them, so we may have to shuffle some staff.
How many do they currently?
It's a great question. I want to say they have 2 up front. They have, I want to say 5 classrooms, and then 3 or 4 offices.
Quite a bit of space. They really do.
425, again, we have a meeting to adopt the BOCES budget. 426, we will continue negotiations with FES. We'll be talking about that later tonight. 428, I have a diversity, equity, and inclusion meeting at Ballard Road. I thought it was pertinent for me to attend from our new policy actions. And May 2nd, we will have a graduation discussion, and then the budget vote will be on May 16th. Mr. Neron did ask me to share a few things with you. Mr. Sharkey has been prepping both the softball and baseball fields. They were ready for play today, but unfortunately the weather did not cooperate.
They did a nice job in that softball field down there.
Oh, good.
I was down overseeing. No, just.
Well, that's great. They will love to hear that. I will
Yeah, no, I
definitely
must
share
check
that.
it out there, so they did a nice job.
Good. He did fix a frozen spigot from the bus garage, by the bus garage. He did put some new lighting in the boiler room. He ran a class with all of the cleaners, including 2 part-time people, last week during break, and basically showed them, this is how you clean a bathroom, this is how you avoid cross-contamination, and this is how you clean a classroom.
Great.
And it was fantastic. And he sanitized, they sanitized the entire school, top to bottom, including our buses inside and out.
Wow.
And fixed any plow damage from the grounds from the winter. So they did that. And they've been removing some little beehives from the corners of some of the windows. If you noticed, there were a bunch of them here dormant, and I we've been talking about that at our leadership meeting for 4 or 5 weeks, so I was happy that they got that rectified. And that is my report for today, thank you.
Thank you.
Just one quick question, what's the bond threat training that you're doing, is that something through BOCES? or-
Yep, it's Needham, which we are a subscriber to.
Okay,
They are hosting it, I mean, they are putting it on and Ballard Road is hosting it.
okay.
So I think it's going to go through all of those scenario of the bond threat and what we should be doing and kind of updating us on that.
Thank you.
All right. Treasurer report in your packets, principal's report.
Hello, everybody. You're gonna hear from me a lot tonight, because I've got this, I've got a presentation, I've got a couple things for executive session, so you're gonna hear my voice a lot. So upcoming events, between now and the next board meeting, the book fair is currently happening in our library. I stopped in, it's set up beautifully, and the kids are gonna be really excited. They get to go for a preview starting tomorrow, and then can purchase things from the book fair. Tomorrow, we are having 2 concerts, both put on by John Farrell and his Peace and Hope organization. He's a gentleman I'm familiar with from Columbia County. He's been all over the world. He's got CDs, he sings songs about peace and hope and teaches kids how to make music. And he's coming here tomorrow to do a concert for pre-K through 2 and then 3 through 5. It's gonna be focused a little bit on Earth Day, because that's coming up soon. And our PTO is generously sponsoring that, so a big shout out to the PTO. He is not inexpensive, and they are footing the entire bill for him to come. He did waive the, he typically charges a travel fee, but he waived that. So I've known him since my kids were yay big, so he was excited to be able to come here. This coming Thursday and Friday, we have the 3 through 8 ELA testing. I was really excited because during break, I think I only had 4 students at that point refusing to test. That number is gone up a little bit, but hopefully, like right now, I think we have fewer than 10 students who are not slated to be tested. But yeah, so everybody's trained, all of our teachers are trained, the schedule went out over break, and we're ready to do that Thursday and Friday. On the 28th of April, we are, our 10th and 11th graders are going to New York City with myself, Melissa Rosenthal, Pete Prindle, Amber Beament, and Joy Glass. We are going to the Holocaust Museum in New York City because they read night in English, and they study the Holocaust in global studies and in US history. So we're going to the Holocaust Museum and then to the 9/11 Memorial. And then we're breaking off into groups and everybody's going to a different little niche of the city to give our kids that experience. I think we have 39 students with permission slips in so far.
What would be cool, I don't know if this is something that could happen, if a couple of kids could come after that experience and do a little presentation or share a few pictures with us or something.
Absolutely love it.
Nothing big, you know, but I'd love to see some pictures of that excursion.
Sure, oh, for sure. I'm sure we've got kids who'd be thrilled to present, absolutely.
When are you going on that, I'm sorry?
That is on the 28th,
Of this month?
yes, 28th of April, so it's next Friday. It's coming up quickly.
Student board member also falls into that category.
Oh, yeah, our student board member can present that. That's a great idea. We have our 3 through 8 math testing on May 2nd and 3rd, just like the ELA testing that will be happening this week. And on May 2nd, I have the Assistant District Attorney coming to discuss attendance interventions with myself, Director Long, our school counselors, and our school psychologist. Brendan Rathbun is the ADA, and he came to our principals meeting and talked about what pressure he can exert in extreme cases of non-attendance. So he's gonna come meet with us and lend his name to our attendance letters and, put a little bit of teeth into some attendance interventions, so I'm happy about that.
How's that going?
The attendance?
Yeah.
Actually, I'll skip down to that. So for the year so far, we're at 89.63% attendance rate. Best attendance remains 12th and 2nd graders at 93% for the year. And the most room for growth is our current ninth grade at 80%. And this quarter, our numbers have been very similar. 89% for the quarter. Second, 12th, and fourth grade, what we're good for this quarter, and the ninth grade remains our challenge there.
So nobody does not want to graduate for lack of attendance, that's it.
Right, they're coming, our seniors are coming to school, so that is good,
I'll tell you, it's a good idea if ADA is gonna attach his name to that letter that goes on the attendance one, because the nasty phone calls I used to get is when the district attorney's name was on the letter, because that at least got the parents to contact me, because that threw a little fear of the parents, so that's a good approach.
Yeah, and he's been very, receptive, and he was.
Very helpful.
Yeah, so I'm really happy about that, yeah.
You know that guy.
He's my enemy.
He's your.
No, I'm just kidding, we're on the other side, I really like it.
Our junior senior high code of conduct review committee has met one time so far. We have 3 other meetings scheduled. We have 5 teachers who volunteer to participate in the code of conduct review process. And I reached out to student council and class advisors to see if students would like to participate in this. The student council members and the class officers have been elected by their peers to represent their cohorts, and so we're asking them for any changes that they'd like us to consider in the code of conduct.
Have you reached out to parents?
Pardon?
Have you reached out to parents?
I have not.
I would do that. Matter of fact, I think it's state anyway.
Okay.
Requires parents should be on, 1 or 2 parents. They always had good insight.
Great, love it. We will definitely, I'll reach out tomorrow. I can get something out to parents for sure. We're doing character ed in elementary. This past month's assembly focused on responsibility, and we had the NED show come virtually. Jess Smacco helped orchestrate that. We recognized our March Rock and Respect crew, as well as recognizing our students with perfect and excellent attendance. And our Rock and Respect crew was treated to a principal's pancake party. So I made pancakes for the kids and got to wear a little chef's hat, and they loved it. And I learned what it was like to be a short order cook, and I will not be changing careers anytime soon, let me tell you. But they liked it despite my pancakes, so. Our cell phone practice, where we have cell phone holders in every classroom, and if they're out, I confiscate them, is going really well. I've had to confiscate very few phones. The ones I have, parents have come after school to retrieve them, and then I haven't had an issue with that student having their phone out again. Feedback from the teachers so far has been positive. So I thought I'd be running around a lot more, collecting more phones than that I had to be. So students are respecting that so far, which is good. Athletics, we have 3 students playing tennis at Argyle, which is great. And all 3 levels of baseball and softball are a go. So that's all happening. I know we had a question last month about the bathroom update, about the doors on the bathroom stall, or on the bathroom, they have them on the bathroom stalls, but on the hallways. So I went into the boys' bathrooms and took some pictures of what you can see from the outside. You can't see anybody in the bathrooms. If you duck down like this, you can see feet, but you can't see anything else. You can, however, hear water moving. I've requested a divider be put in the 2nd floor boys' bathroom between the urinal and the sink, because right now there isn't a divider there. So that has been requested because that needs to be there, for sure. And if we can go for a month with no more than 3 students in the boys' bathroom at a time, no reports of vaping or marijuana smells in the bathroom, no vandalism, and no tardiness due to hanging out in the bathroom, then I think it's fair to consider reinstating the doors. If it shows that, hey, they're all following the rules and we can put the doors back on. But if those parameters are not met, it shows that there's a reason to keep them off.
Are they following the rules now?
Well, there's often more than 3 pairs of feet in the bathroom when I duck down, so I often have to break up groups of people in the bathroom just kind of hanging out. And again, there's only 3 places to use the bathroom in the bathroom, so there shouldn't be more than 3 people in there. Yeah, so we've got signs up, teachers have been great, popping into the bathrooms and just, saying, hey, if you're not using the bathroom, you gotta get out of here. So teachers have been doing a great job between classes trying to get in there as well. So, we are testing a web filter called Hapara, which will allow us to kind of keep track of what websites students are going on. And it also allows teachers to, from their website or from their laptop, to look to see what kids are doing and shut things off when they're on a site that they're not supposed to be on. And they can send a message like, hey, that's not the site we're supposed to be on, and actually shut it off for that student. Anything you want to add about that, Greg?
It is AI powered, so it's constantly adapting. So that's perfect with adapting a filter, is you don't want it to quickly become not useful. But with AI adapting to it, it'll continuously be useful and continue adapting to new language and stuff that the students adapt. So that way you don't have to keep adding keyword filters as the language adapts and changes with the students as they grow. So it's sustainable, to say the least.
Is it new technology?
Yes. The AI adaptation, my fault.
Used widely in schools?
Yes, I use it at my other 2 districts as well. So, it's used by other similar districts around. Yeah, we use it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we surveyed a lot of the schools in the area, and most of them are using Hapara. So we're gonna test it out and see what we think.
Very useful, she says.
Oh, good. Tomorrow is the New York State Maple Experience. Patrick Keneally, our food cafeteria coordinator, is bringing a mobile maple syrup shack. Yeah, sugar shack. Try saying that again. Mobile maple syrup sugar shack to Fort Edward, and the kids are going to be able to go through on little tours of 15-20-minute demonstrations of a mobile sugar shack. So, yeah.
And just to chime in, thank you, Jessica, for organizing that spreadsheet and getting people to sign up.
What's that? We don't.
I had a couple of people ask where they were.
I'm gonna say out back. It should be out
Patrick
back.
hasn't asked me, so I was gonna answer. I'm gonna assume that's probably the safest place.
Yeah. Like where we
We have the fire truck.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly.
I've
That's
had
where
a few
it's-
people ask and I thought,
Yep.
I don't know the answer to
Executive
that.
decision, that's where they're parking, right in the back. We do have Regents Review starting in May. I started a document and teachers have been plugging in when they're gonna offer extra review classes. So I think I'm waiting for one more teacher's definite dates, and then that'll be posted for students and for parents so they know when they can get extra review for those Regents exams that are required for graduation. And I already talked about attendance for this quarter, so that's my report.
Cool. There was, thanks for following up. I think it was our student board member that mentioned the bathroom situation, so thanks for following. I think Ella also brought up student did a quarter or a month award, bringing that back. Is that thing?
Yep, I did, actually, Joanna Scotch was the one who kind of spearheaded it, when it was in practice. And it's definitely something we wanna, bring back, probably for next year, so that we can do the whole, do the whole year. And, but yeah, she was excited to be able to bring it back.
Awesome.
And Aaron, I wanna thank you for offering to help with the survey I wanna do with the kids. We're looking at, I'm trying to get the kids as busy as possible in summertime, since I'm lucky enough to run the rec in the pool, in the library, and so I'm trying to get some information from the kids. Not what I wanna do, not what we think they should do, what they really wanna do. And also looking at Marketplace, cause they wanna get kids, so if I can get everybody under the same umbrella, if we look at the holistic kid, so find out what they want, and instead of dictating, let them tell us. Do we have to go somewhere? Cause we just gotta get them involved. The days of just setting up, build the field of dreams, build it, they'll come, they won't come. So you gotta go find out what it is, so I'll get with Erin and we'll get a survey together, short and sweet, so I can get kids the answer, but she offers it and makes it a little easier for me to go around and speaking to them. If anybody has any ideas or any questions we can ask, general questions for kids to get on, please let me know. I'd like to get it done within a week, so I can start working on that schedule, because it's gonna be all different this summer. Thanks, so thank you.
Of course.
All right, appreciate it. So we're gonna go to your presentation. Ella's obviously not here this evening, so we're gonna do the presentation. That's okay, right?
Thanks.
Good, all right. Okay, this is fancy. Okay, so this is cohort report. So these are predicted graduation rates through 2026. So, the cohort is basically who is still on our books, who entered in, so our seniors and entered in 2019. So these students were freshmen in 2019. They might have been freshmen here, or they could have been freshmen somewhere else in 2019, but we now own them because they've transferred into our district. If they were freshmen here and transferred someplace else, they're no longer in our cohort. They would belong in the cohort of the school to which they transferred. So our current seniors, we have 30 students in that cohort. 3 of them are out of district placement. So these are 3 students who we don't see. They don't attend classes here. They're in a BOCES placement someplace else. So they don't have the benefit of our counselors, our teachers. They're in an outside placement. So we have very little, unfortunately, very little input or control over how those students are doing. 1 student out of that 30 is what's called out of cohort. They're in a life skills class. They're considered an ungraded student, and they were inadvertently included in this cohort. So BOCES will rectify that. Amanda Bergen, our data person, will rectify that, which will then bring that cohort to 29. We have 21 of those 30 are on track to graduate in June. 2 are on track to graduate in August. Until about a month ago, we thought they were not going to graduate until the end of next year. In looking at their credits, what they need to graduate, we can offer them some online credit recovery and accrual between June 1st and the end of August, and we can get them to graduate in August. So they will count toward our graduation rate. Which is really good because in a district this small, 2 kids makes a huge difference in that graduation number. We have 1 of those students on track to graduate in 2024. I've looked at her transcript every which way, upside down, backwards, sideways, and there is absolutely no way we can get her through by this August. She just needs too many classes to graduate. And 5 students of that original 30 have dropped through lack of attendance, family instability. 2 of the students who dropped were out of district placements, so we really didn't even have the opportunity to intervene. They just stopped attending at their BOCES program and then dropped, which is unfortunate.
So that would mean the highest graduation rate you could have right now, or excuse me, we could have, would be 83%.
Well, I'm moving to right here, so if all of our if our out of district students all graduate, 21 out of 30 students, we'd have a 70% graduation rate, 72% after that 1 student gets taken out of the cohort. 23 out of 30 students, it's a 76% graduation rate. That's for the district, that's including our out of district students. Our building level stats, what we can control here in our building, we're at worst case scenario is 74% graduation rate. And then in August, after we get those 2 students across the stage and do that cohort adjustment, we have an 84% graduation rate at the building level. But what you'll see on our school report card will be the district level. Okay, I did the same rundown for our 2020 cohort, which is our current 11th graders. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. I do want to show that we do have a student transferring to homeschooling, which is once they do transfer, we can take them out of our cohort because it's as if they transferred to another school. And we have 5 kids in that 2020 cohort who have already dropped, whether it was this year or in previous years, 1 of whom is an out of district placement student. So here, the whole district, again, what you'll see in the report card, 75% graduation rate. And after that 1 student transfers to homeschooling, 78% graduation rate. So you see that 1 student is 3%, so that's huge. And again, our building level stats are a little bit better, 77% graduation rate, and after that student transfers to homeschool, we'll be at an 80% graduation rate. Similar data for the current sophomores. We had 2 students who did already transferred to homeschooling that were not already taken out of the cohort, and 3 who are planning to transfer to homeschool. They simply have not submitted their paperwork yet, or their IHIP. So until that's approved, I don't count them as transferred out yet, because you never know. We do have 3 who are out of sequence. They're not 100% on track to graduate, but in evaluating their transcripts and how much time they have left in school, we can easily get them caught up and back on track, as long as we're offering them the right schedule to get those needs met. And again, our district stats, this is looking pretty good. District stats, worst case scenario, 77% graduation rate. After we did the cohort adjustment and confirmed homeschooling, we're at an 88% graduation rate. And then if those students actually transfer to homeschooling, that would be 100% graduation rate. Now granted, these are our 10th graders, so that 100% is definitely pie in the sky. But in all the, if all the numbers work out well and everybody stays on track, that's what we're looking at. Our building level stats, again, very, very similar. Worst case scenario, 75% graduation rate. And then after the confirmed homeschooling, 87% graduation rate. So it's definitely going up. Our current 9th grade, we don't have a ton of data because they're in their cohort. They just entered their cohort. So at the district level, we have 24 students in that cohort. The building level, we have 21 students because 3 of our students in that cohort are placed out of district. 16 of our 21 students in the building are passing all of their classes, which is great. 5 students are failing at least 1 class. But again, that's at this moment. So there's definitely room for improvement. And I'm gonna tell you about what we're doing to help those numbers improve. We have academic recovery, so students who are failing get put in a directed study hall where they are assigned with a teacher to catch up on work that they're missing, retaking tests, making up essays, that kind of thing, to try to get them back on track so they're not failing classes. Students who are failing classes, parents get a letter every 2 weeks saying your child is failing this class, so lots of communication with parents. Teachers are available for extra help every Monday through Thursday until at least 3 o'clock. We are building this master schedule for next year, looking to give actual academic intervention services at the junior, senior high school level, which isn't homework catching up, it's skill building. So we'll look at a student who is not just not doing their homework, but wow, they have a deficit in math, or they have a deficit in reading or writing, and actually giving them the skill building so that they can succeed. Rich and I actually talked today about a summer school plan so that students can recover credit. Currently, those students who maybe can't graduate with their cohort, it's because if they failed Global 10, they retook Global 10 the following year, which then put them off track social studies wise, and if they failed something else, it put them off track. We'd like to offer a summer school so that they can recover that credit and stay with their cohort and graduate on time. I'm going to be implementing an advisory program beginning next fall. The goal of the advisory program is to create more connections. So basically you have a teacher who's responsible for a small group of kids, 5 to 10 kids, and they have them all 4 years through graduation. They stay on top of them. They establish relationships with the parents. So they're almost like their parent here at school, and check in with them on at least a weekly, hopefully a daily basis, depending on what I can make work in the schedule.
You designate meeting time for them, because we did the same thing and it worked, it was wonderful.
Yeah, so it would be a meeting time. I'm actually right now looking at retooling the master schedule for next year to put in like a 15-minute daily advisory, if I can make that work. And if I can't make that work, I'm gonna do like a weekly advisory for at least 30 minutes.
Sure.
Again, to establish those relationships.
It's
and
really effective. I still have kids that contact me
do you?
from mentor, just from the, not because I have it as a principal or team, but because of a mentor thing, because it's a different relationship.
It is very
It's really,
different.
Small school, it's one of those deals, you really gotta take advantage of the assets that you have here, and and I'm just telling you how effective a program is, and it's how it works.
Good, I'm so glad that you had experience with that. So
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, you're okay.
Do we have a guidance counselor?
We do, yes. Yep, Joanna Scotch is at the high school level,
Okay.
and then Deb LeBaron's at the elementary level.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Just scared.
And they, Joanna Scotch's job at the high school level is to, she's tracking graduation requirements, she meets with kids who are not achieving, but the advice, pardon? Yeah, about a lot, yes, a lot of that stuff,
Kinda
yes.
cool.
Yeah, it is.
Good guidance there.
Yeah, but that advisory program is great because, you might be paired with a music teacher or an art teacher or a math teacher, and they just become your person here in the building. And then, another thing we're doing is students who want to drop, we are, meeting with parents and trying to, if they no longer wanna come to school here, and then either the parents aren't supportive of them continuing, or the parents want them to continue, but the child is simply refusing, we're then talking to them about homeschooling. We want them here, but I'd rather have them homeschool than not finish at all. And that, they get some educated until they can take their GED, and they also don't count against us because they're doing a different educational program rather than no educational program. Questions?
I do.
Yeah.
So let's, just for a moment, homeschooling. So each grade, there seems to be percentage-wise several kids that have elected to homeschool.
Mhm.
Is there a common reason for that?
I think, so at elementary, which isn't covered in here because it's not the,
Yeah,
not
I mean,
cohort.
just the 9th through 12th.
Yeah, so I think usually when kids are electing to homeschool, they're not feeling successful here, whether it's, they're not making connections, they're not attending a
I mean,
lot.
is that, I'm talking about our kids.
Our kids, yeah, I think a lot of it is they're just, either not interested in coming anymore, their attendance is poor, when they do come to school, they're a little bit lost, cause they haven't been here in a while. So it's just this kind of vicious cycle of, wow, I come, I'm a little bit lost, I don't know what's going on, so then I'm gonna stop coming. And then they show up, once in a blue moon, they don't feel a part of it. So sometimes they do go to homeschooling because of that.
Is that, I'm sorry.
Oh.
What's the root cause?
That's a great question. We haven't done a root cause analysis for the homeschooling, but I think that'd be a valuable exercise.
I think it would be valuable if we're saying that the kids don't wanna come to school, I
Right.
mean.
Then why don't they wanna come?
Why don't they wanna come?
Yep.
Is it the environment, is it their parents, is it the curriculum?
Mhm.
Are they falling behind and they feel that they're never gonna catch up? Is it, there's several, I'm sure, reasons.
Oh, sure.
But
Yeah.
in order to solve any problem, we have to get to the root of the problem.
Yep.
So we can do all the programs that we wanna do, but if we don't understand, A, why kids don't wanna be here, and if they are here, why aren't they doing as well as they should? Until we get to the root of the issue and the root of the problem, we can't solve the problem.
Right, we're just treating a symptom
We're
instead
putting a
of,
Band-Aid on something, and the wrong reason to do that is to boost the graduation rate
right,
on paper.
right,
So the right reason to do it is to get kids a good foundation to move on after they get out of the school.
exactly.
Couple of pieces to that also though, homeschool programs are now online homeschool programs are so readily available to parents, and they're very affordable at this point as well. You can get a very affordable homeschool program. And so that's another reason why Chris had mentioned about an 11% drop in enrollment. When you look at, it wouldn't be kindergarten because that's not compulsory age, but when you look at 6-year-olds up through graduation time, the amount of students that are across the state and country probably that are moving to homeschool, and it's a family decision. The parent has to do all of the paperwork for that to occur. And so I think that's a reason why you're seeing a lot of enrollment drops in school districts across the state. There are a lot of families who are choosing for any given reason to homeschool their children. The other piece to it though, and the talks have been in New York State Education Department, but we are operating under very, very archaic graduation requirements. Regents exams are still pencil and paper exams. And that is still a requirement in New York State that every student take those to graduate. And yes, there's pathways and there's all these different pieces to it, but New York State Education Department needs to change what we're doing and expecting of our students. We're losing kids because we're trying to get them through earth science and global studies and algebra, so that then they can get to a CTE program, which they actually enjoy and do very well in, but we can't get them the necessary credits that they need to then attend that program. My hope is that eventually State Ed is going to be opening the doors and saying, we can track our students, we can track them sooner, and we can start kids in tech programs and CTE programs more like 7th or 8th grade.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if we can hook them and we can hold them, you're going to see those numbers increase. Right now, they're not buying what we're selling, because what we're selling is a square peg round hole.
Yes.
And we do the best that we can to try and provide, and it's here, it's across state, it's everywhere. There's a lot that we're up against, and State Ed needs to change some things.
Oh,
I would agree.
I totally agree with you,
Yep.
and I think you're absolutely right. We have to put the, for lack of a better term, the right kid in the right seat on the right bus.
Mhm.
Until we do that as a state, we're gonna see, our numbers drop. However, New York being New York, it is what it is. I've lived all over the country, and I will tell you that, yeah, it's rigorous and it's archaic, but I'll take New York over, a lot of other states that I've been in. And where you see that their best is, at their best, they're at our upper middle, and that's at a valedictorian level. And so we have a great education program here. We just need to continue to pound the pavement and improve, and parental involvement is key, I believe. The kids are not gonna be successful without at least one parent pushing them in the right direction.
And I will say our teachers are doing a really good job of reaching out to parents. I do agree with you, Amanda. It gets heartbreaking to me when I see a student who should go to a BOCES program, should be a CTE kid, who then can't go because they're not on track graduation wise. It's heartbreaking because they should go there and learn their trade and go do what they want to do, and they'll do fabulous. I'll be hiring them to do all the stuff at my house that I don't know how to do. But I can't get them across the graduation stage if they're not on track. So that is heartbreaking. And I will say, Mr. Becker teaches English 11, and that's a requirement for graduation. And he has one section, it's mostly career and tech ed students in that section, just because of scheduling. Everybody got through the regents, at least with a special appeal. So he was able to change what he's doing in that period so that they are now buying what he's selling. He turned it into, the first half of the year was definitely literary based, and they were doing all kinds of literary analysis, things that they need to be able to do in order to pass that regents exam. They got through the regents exam, so now they're doing, they're choosing books. They are they have some task-oriented things to do every week, and then this quarter they're actually working on comparison about jobs in their chosen trade, talking about how much money you make here or what your job duties are here, and then different branches they can go off of. So like if they're in automotive, well, what happens if I'm a body guy? What happens if I work at a dealership? What happens if I do this? And really kind of doing English that way. So and the kids are eating it up. They're very happy. So he was able to see that it was square peg round hole and change what he was doing for those students, and it's working. I have students who didn't think they were going to make out at English 11 who said, no, I'm going to get through it now. So I think that's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, like I say, those are all tremendous proactive pieces to getting the kids to where they need to go, but the big one you kind of fluffed over a little bit. That contact with the parents is just key.
It is.
It used to irritate me when teachers would just call when things are wrong. Well, that just doesn't work. Sometimes you gotta call when things are right. So the contact can be made for whatever reason, but man, you gotta do it both ways.
I would
And then-
agree.
And then you alienate a parent, when the conversation is always a negative thing.
Like,
So that's just,
why
it's
is
key.
Mrs. Smackle calling me again?
The listings are
Exactly.
all- the listings are wonderful, but that's.
But no, but you're right, you're absolutely right. When it's always bad news, they don't wanna pick up the phone. When they see Fort Edward School, they don't wanna pick up the phone.
Right.
Yeah.
And that goes right down to the kid, you know, they're gonna avoid you in the hallway. They're gonna, you know, and that's what leads to attendance issues and you know, tardiness and hanging out in the bathroom and, you know, not doing anything extracurricular. You know, if everything is a negative, and I'm not saying it is, I'm
No,
just saying,
sure.
if everything is a negative, if every time I see Ms. Russo and I'm like, oh, man.
Right, what now?
What's she gonna do now?
Exactly.
You know,
Yep.
and, you know, hey, go see your guidance counselor. Oh, I don't want to because now I'm failing this class and we need to inject positivity, we need to inject enthusiasm. I think that, you know, we've got wonderful teachers, we've got wonderful administrative people, we've got great support people. You know, we need to use that greatness to be contagious and infect these kids with positivity. Look, we're only talking about classes of 20-something kids. My God, that's half a study hall. You know, there's no reason why every parent shouldn't be involved. And I know that's not on us, but we can help that.
Sure.
There's no reason why any kid legitimately should be failing at least one class.
Right.
I mean, that's a problem. A problem.
It is, definitely.
I mean, they're just, I just can't wrap my head around it. I really can't.
There's always going to be some kids that you're not gonna grab hold of, the way you're saying, it's not, the school can't affect every household. I work in family court, John, you have no idea what some of these kids go through.
Oh, I
So-
certainly do. Yes, I do.
Well, that's what I'm saying, so
But
you can't say that you need to grab a hold of these, make sure they're
sometimes-
passing every single class, sometimes it's not. hugely
Sometimes
helpful, it's
school
not our
is the
fault.
best part of their life. You know, sometimes lunch is the best meal they're gonna get. You know, sometimes practice
Right,
is
so
the
why are we
best
gonna be
outlet.
harassing them?
We're not
for failing
harassing
one class?
them.
Well, no, but that's what you're saying.
No,
They shouldn't have-
you're taking
nobody
it wrong. I'm not
should be
harassing the
failing.
kid. What I'm saying is, we have enough teachers, enough good teachers, and enough good people in this school that we can positively affect it and not harass them, but help them, bring them up. Stay after school like we do. You know, make it fun to learn. Make it interesting like Becker did. You know, those are the things that, you know what, like, he's got kids calling him now. Well, that's the goal. Is to teach somebody to be a good citizen, and a good person, and a well-rounded person. When they leave this school, they should be a productive part of society.
And I will say, when I call when I'm calling them, it's usually because of a disciplinary issue. I will tell you 90% of the parents are happy that I called, are saying, I'm so sorry my child did this, thank you for calling, and are really supportive. So I agree that even, you know, they're happy to hear from us, and they're willing to work with us. So I think a lot, you know, more parent outreach is key.
You know, we said during this whole annexation thing, it takes a village. Well, you know what? Let's be the village. This is the village.
Absolutely.
I'm very confident though in the fact that given cohort of 2019, the one that's graduating this year with 5 that dropped out, and there was a number that were the within district students. Any of those students, I am confident that there are people in this building that know that number by name, and they went down swinging. What I mean by that is people tried.
Right.
They tried to not have that student drop out. They tried to do things differently. They tried to reach out to the family. Sometimes there are things that we cannot control. It doesn't mean that we give up our efforts. It doesn't mean that we don't try, but it is a reality of what we are dealing with. And I am confident in the numbers that our numbers are individual.
Especially post-COVID, I mean, honestly, these 2019 kids, half their high school, more than half their high school was virtual. How
Yeah.
easy it is to lose kids like that.
Very good point, absolutely.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, I guess it's not the right word, but, you know, graduation rates are what they are, and they're what we're compared by, when you take a look at our report card, so, and I'm sure we're not the only school that has family issues and high poverty and all those things that contribute to graduation rate numbers, so we do have to take a look at our numbers in comparison to similar districts and see what they're doing right, what we can do right, and we can share what we're doing right to those that maybe don't have the same success that we have. So I think it's a group effort all around, but unfortunately it is one of those numbers that we're tasked with driving, because it's what we're ultimately judged by. So one of those things we're ultimately judged by. So when we see 72%, we should shudder a bit, and we understand what's behind the numbers. We understand we've got a high poverty district. You understand that there's cyclical poverty and cyclical education problems that go on, but we do have to do what we can, and what we are doing what we can to get that number up. That's what it comes down to.
Right, and again, I think we need, looking at a big picture, we're narrowing it down to 40 weeks out of a year. Kids are around for 52, so not because I'm doing the summer thing, but I do. And we've gotta get these kids, part of it is getting interaction in the summertime, getting the kids comfortable with other kids, build a group they wanna hang around with, so they wanna come to school. So if we can get them active in the summer, it'll translate to kids maybe wanting to come, they'll have more positive feeling, more friends, whatever else. So we really need to, we all need to be on the same page, and we all need to look together to get these kids, because like you said, the COVID effort, and we saw it everywhere. U20, things went down, so getting them back to where they were is a difficult thing, but we have to work together to get them in the right direction, and do everything we possibly can.
These numbers are fantastic. I
It's
really
great
appreciate you putting it together.
Thank you.
Great slide.
Absolutely, I'm happy to share it with you all.
Thank
Yeah, could you get that to Casey so it can go in our,
Absolutely.
share drive, that'd be great.
Sure,
Please,
not a
thank you.
problem.
Thank you. Thank you all for your effort with this. It's fantastic. All right. Well, we can discuss nine.
Sure. We have fest negotiations coming up. Bus drivers are at a premium. We're trying to be as competitive as we can, but I think adding in that we will help out with, their licensure and some physicals, I think will help us. I'd like to try to negotiate that into the next contract. As well with a stipulation that says, you know, you gotta be with us for a year or two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be with us for at least, I was thinking 2 years, you know, that was more my thought.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, because you're not getting the money back. whether
What's
it's
that?
there or not. So we have that stipulation, but there's no way of getting the money back. New York State, unless they sign a waiver that they're gonna happily give you the money back if they don't agree, you don't meet that timeline, you're never getting the money back, so.
If you put it, let me ask you this, you might know better than I do, if you put it into the contract, because I'm sure people leave with one paycheck on the table, could you
They
take
have
that?
to absolutely sign it, they are willing to forfeit that money if they leave behind. It's the only way New York State will allow you to get that money back. If you don't have that
So if we were,
watertight, you're never getting it.
so if we were in the contract that way, it could work.
Just check with Chris, she'll have, obviously, she's worked around all the time, so, because we gotta have, if we're giving, we gotta have something back.
Okay, I don't
So
disagree.
that has to be in the contract, so one way or the other. But yeah,
So
not a problem.
You're willing, I guess the whole thing is, I'd like to move forward in that direction.
Yeah.
All right.
What's the cost average of, I'm looking at you, I'm sorry. What's, what does it cost to put someone through a CDL class and the driving and all the things for that
I
stuff?
don't have that number on my head, but I can find that for you.
It's probably upwards of about $1,800, I think.
I was gonna say, well, at least 1,500, yeah.
I wanna look at that. Well, we need them, right? We need people to come, if that's the thing that's gonna bring them in the door and it's gonna work, I think we should do it.
That's all they say, right?
The April 25th board meeting, I just want to make sure we have attendance.
That's gonna be at what time?
Same time?
Same
So
time?
what day is 8/25?
The 25th is
Monday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
next,
Um,
what is it? What day is it?
Tuesday?
We have it down on the calendar already for 6:30.
Okay.
We're good? We'll have 5,
What time? 6:30?
6:30,
Yeah, I can come.
I'll be here.
I think
I'll be
I
here.
should be okay.
6:30 is good.
3.
I should be.
I should be.
I most positive, yeah.
It should be.
And that's just for just voting.
It's really, it's coming in,
Yeah.
vote, I think it's on, I guess they have some people running for office.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, right.
You one of them now?
Probably 5 seats, 5 people.
Oh my God, that
Probably
is-
5 seats, 4 people.
I think it is.
Is it, yeah, I think, it's usually what it is.
It's like,
Oh
oh
my
my
God,
God.
Yeah.
I read that.
I don't
iOS calendar.
think I did.
I don't think I saw that.
See, Rich is new,
Like I
he needs
said-
some people, his board members
I
to
don't-
run on that thing.
We
The old,
saw
the veteran
flyer,
troopers
where
will,
does
will,
it say
oh,
flyer?
don't you want to take a spot on
I think the policy, one of the policies, and I know in the policy committee, we talked about this. So
Yes.
the 2 1-stallers by the gym, I believe we have to change those over to gender neutral, correct?
Yes.
But we thought in the policy committee meeting that there was a reason why we hadn't pulled the trigger. I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing something.
None of us can remember.
So it's.
I think so, yeah.
It's an old.
I think we have a choice.
Yeah.
We have to do that.
The ones by the gym, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, is the boys bathroom a single bathroom?
They're both, yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
interesting.
Bill's gotta go.
I mean, I've never been in there, I always thought that it was like stalls in there.
Now you can, after they change.
That's right, now you can, maybe, I don't know, weird. I don't know why I thought that.
Okay, that's all I got.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda.
Rich, excuse me, Tom, you wanna address that graduation diploma, one down here? What do you wanna hold, what do you wanna do?
I was gonna hold on to it
Okay,
for later. Okay.
Can I have for consent agenda, may I have a motion for the items A through E? John and Amanda, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We're good with that. Action item A, motion to approve the CSE, CPSE recommendations as included in the board packets.
Motion.
Taylor and Tim, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt District's 2023-2024 budget in the amount of $12,449,626.16 as stated on the budget notice and property tax report card. Your motion. John, Ella, any discussion?
Thank you, Chris. New to the district,
Yeah,
came
thanks a
in
lot. It was
after
great.
the start of the year, was it November, December?
I started December 5th,
December.
and I saw the schedule and I said, oh dear.
But I feel
And
like,
you follow felt my
Not as
pain.
long as I did.
Yeah.
but I feel like you've been here, like you came into it, you owned it and.
Well, I've lived here, so thank
Appreciate it,
you.
appreciate it, yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, it took me a couple of months to learn your name, but.
You got it.
That is true.
And I don't even call you that much, so it's.
That's right, you called me.
We have 2 motions, all in favor?
Aye.
Good. Motion to accept a generous donation from the Adirondack Car Enthusiast Car Club in the amount of $500. John and James, any discussion? Thank you, ACE. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to accept a generous donation from Irving Tissue in the amount of $13,000 for the after-school enrichment program. James and Ella. Any discussion?
Cash.
Thank you.
Thank you, Irving, again, for your continued support. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to accept the generous donation of a softball catcher's gear from Patrick Colombetti. Taylor, John, thank you, Mr. Colombetti. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt the following amendment to the resolution passed on March 13, 2023, to transfer a portion of the real property located at 220 Broadway, Fort Edward, to the Village of Fort Edward and the Town of Fort Edward for public use. That's the amendment, adding the town, correct?
Motion.
Tim,
Second.
Amanda, any discussion?
That was, so that was at the request of the village's attorney.
Yes.
Had they made contact with the town's aware this is going on?
That I can't confirm. All I can tell you is that
Cause all I know, my conversations I always have with the village.
The town attorney contacted Chris or vice versa.
Village attorney contacted Chris, right?
Mhm.
So that's why I'm curious, I hate to stick the town.
They're
in
not the
that.
same, not the same fund, correct?
No, different. Yeah, Bill Nickus does the town,
Right.
Matt does the village.
Can we still do a boundary adjustment if it's two owners?
No, I just want, if we're, well, I know, we're turning it over to them.
It
I
would
mean,
just make them joint tenants on that
Yeah.
property ownership.
But the request didn't come from the town, it came from the village.
The village attorney, and
Yeah,
That's just why I'm confused.
yeah, me too. Because and I've had discussions for a few years now with the village, that's why I keep pushing this.
Oh, and maybe it's part of the history, or maybe part of the historical.
Well, historical would be with
association.
Fauna Village too, but I just, I don't wanna put somebody on if they're not aware that they're on the proposition.
So could we, potentially approve tonight, but could
And then go back and rescind it?
somebody get clarification from Chris? Is that who you've been communicating to this part? Chris
Chris is-
Lanchannon, as far as,
I mean-
can we please confirm that the town is aware as well?
Our options is to
Or
accept it
where'd this come from?
or table it.
you could,
I don't see any reason not to accept this, it's not like
Yeah.
we're doing something to the town, we'll find
No.
out if they know about it and. they'll
Right, well,
let
I say we,
No, but that's
we
what I'm saying,
set,
if
right
we
now, I
accept
say we
it.
accept it, then if something comes up later on, we
Right.
can rescind it, go back. I don't wanna let this, I mean, we've been laboring over this.
Second amendment to the same motion. But okay, so we're gonna take it off. But okay, so we'll,
I mean, you're
we'll
meeting in
vote
a
on it
week.
tonight. Yeah.
Right.
just, I'm gonna put it out there.
Oh, that's true.
So we have two motions, so, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Alright. Motion to approve the first reading of the following revised policies as listed on the agenda.
Thank you. I was looking at it, I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Got the dead eyes.
We'd be here Wednesday.
Don't you.
I got John and one other person.
Second.
Amanda, any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
You're very welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Read all those, please.
No.
Personnel.
You said that.
You have to read this. All appointments are subject to change in compensation proration pending emergency school closings and required reductions in force. All coaching appointments are made pending completion and verification of all required coaching credentials. The stipend per FETA contract commensurate with experience and no other salary benefits. All coaching extracurricular appointments are subject to reduction and compensation proration pending final student enrollment numbers and pending the outcome of any potential mergers and emergency school closings. Okay. A, be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Fort Worth School District, upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, hereby grants tenure by estoppel to Amber Beeman in the tenure area of English teacher effective November 16, 2001. Need a motion.
2020.
Amanda?
Oh, second.
Any discussion?
Was that, did we miss that? How
The
did
one
that
in the
happen?
red directive? Yeah.
Going way back, 2020.
Yeah, I mean, how did, just
She-
no one ever took action?
And,
She could.
there was a year that I don't think was counted, but did count for her. Yeah,
Okay, just,
yeah,
yeah, you don't see that very often, any of that stuff.
yeah,
No.
in the, when we reviewed her years of service and I met with Rachel, she's like, that's
Oh,
what
so
she
you
should
went
have.
through and found that there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah.
Dropped the ball
So
somewhere.
had she been approved before and it was not?
No, couldn't.
So she
Just
is
trying
never
to stop
visited.
her. That's what stop was, you didn't, it was never even active, you see, you granted that because you had it.
The pandemic in the middle of that, too.
Yeah, okay, I'm just curious, cause I've never,
Yeah.
I mean,
I couldn't
know
see
this.
November 2022, 2021.
Yeah.
All right then.
Okay.
Well,
Okay,
that's clear.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye. Congratulations. Very belated,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Most to
Oh, I
approve
looked at it, I was like,
the appointment of John Sharkey as substitute bus aide at a rate of $14.20 per hour as per the FESS contract effective October 26, 2023.
Is that
John
supposed to be,
James?
well, is that supposed to be 22?
2022.
Because 23 hasn't happened yet.
Yes.
Oh.
I was just testing you all. 2022.
Boy, we got all
I think I had John and James, they still okay with the cake?
Yes.
Okay, any discussion?
So, this person has been
Yes.
doing this since October, but just hasn't been paid?
He's been paid, we just didn't formally
Didn't
appoint him.
have, I got it, okay, I got it. Sorry, it's well after 8:00, my brain is.
No, it's a legit question.
Okay, so, got it, okay.
Stop that for a stop.
All in
I've
favor?
never seen that word.
Only because I'm in the
Aye.
military, I was probably feeling.
Got it.
Most to approve the appointment of William LaFontaine, as part-time bus driver at a rate of $18.47 per hour for the FESS contract, November 12, 2022.
Motion.
Amanda?
Second.
Tim?
It was Taylor.
Taylor.
Oh, Taylor, I'm sorry. Taylor and Tim. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Most to approve the appointment of Anna Lampier as part-time cleaner at a rate of $14.20 per hour as per the FESS contract effective April 3, 2023.
A motion.
Amanda and Taylor, any discussion? Yeah, I see that look on your face, we'll resolve that later.
Yeah.
Yes. All in favor? Aye. Most to approve the appointment of Dakota LaRock as substitute cleaner at a rate of $14.20 per hour FESS contract effective April 17th, 2023. And James,
Second.
Tim, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Kids are cool.
Most to approve the appointment of Andrew Fish as substitute cleaner at a rate of $14.20 per hour as per the FESS contract effective April 3, 2023. James,
Motion.
Taylor, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Most to approve the appointment of Sarah Tucci as a .4 school psychologist, step 12, Masters plus 30 as per FETA contract effective April 3, 2023.
Motion.
Taylor,
Second.
Tim, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, welcome. I'm going to request tabling H for discussion in executive session. Can I get a motion? John, James? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Most to accept the letter of resignation from Christina Marchese, effective May 3rd, 2023.
Motion.
James and Amanda, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to accept the letter of resignation from Anna Lampier, effective April 21, 2023. So we were in and we were out in a couple weeks. John and Tim, any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Is there a second public comment? I need a motion to enter into executive session. John? Taylor? Board of Education members and other individuals invited into executive session are reminded that all matters discussed during executive session must be kept in the strictest confidence. We are entering to talk about negotiations and the employment of specific individuals. All in favor?